Have you given up on the idea of becoming the top performer in your field, or maybe your industry, your sector, your company? Well, if you haven't, then you got to watch this show or listen to this podcast. This is the book review on the Harun Rabbani Show. Each week, you will hear about the latest book I've read, which are primarily focused on making you or helping you to become a better decision maker, somebody who is a lot more influential and impactful on the lives that you touch. So the very first book I've decided to share with you is this book, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. At the end of the book review, I will share with you my own ratings and why I think this may be or may not be relevant to you. Anyway, enjoy the review. The author Brendon Burchard is one of the world's leading high-performance coach. I've known him for quite a few years, not personally, but as a coach. And Success and O Magazine, that's Oprah Winfrey's magazine, have named him one of the most influential leaders in personal growth and achievements. Other books he's written are New York Times bestsellers, The Motivation Manifesto, The Charge, The Millionaire Messenger, and Life's Golden Ticket. Some of his achievements have included videos that have been watched over 100 million times. More than 1.6 million people have taken his online courses or video series. He is also one of the top 100 most followed public figures on Facebook. High performance means succeeding beyond standard norms consistently over time. The book is about developing the habits that will make you extraordinary. The habits he's talking about aren't ordinary habits like brushing your teeth or going to work on time. Brendon Burchard is talking about deliberate habits. After studying, surveying and testing vast numbers of people, his team have distilled the findings into 6 high-performance habits. They created a test called the High Performance Indicator. They tested the indicator with 30,000 people from 195 countries and quantitatively proved its validity, reliability and usefulness. Each individual habit correlates with high performance and, when combined, they strongly correlate. These habits correlate with other outcomes such as happiness, better health and positive relationships. So why high performers? High performers are less stressed, love challenges, are healthier, happier, get better grades, work passionately, are assertive, serve beyond their strengths, and are adaptive servants. There are 6 core habits that he talks about in the book. The purpose of this review is not to get into intimate detail of this remarkable book, but to give you the essence of what has been written. So the habits are, number 1, seek clarity. Number 2, generate energy. Number 3, raise necessity. Number 4, increase productivity. Number 5, develop influence. Number 6, demonstrate courage. Habit number 1, seeking clarity helps keep high performers engaged, growing and fulfilled over the long term. Getting clarity is not a personality trait, but a skill that can be learned. You generate clarity by asking questions, researching, trying new things, sorting through life's opportunities, and discovering what's right for you. Once you've got clarity, you need unambiguous and stretching goals. The decades of research have proven beyond any doubt that having specific, difficult goals increases performance. Such goals lead to greater enjoyment, productivity, profitability, and satisfaction at work. Clarity research answers the fundamental questions successful people want to know, such as, who am I? This includes, what do I value? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What are my goals? What is my plan to achieve those goals? The next level of clarity for high performers are focusing on the future and how they will achieve excellence. They don't focus on their current personality, but who they want to be and how to become that. In each chapter, the author shares 3 practices to develop that specific habit. In seeking clarity, one of the practices is to envision the future. Part of the journey is, number 1, know yourself. High performers not only know themselves, they go beyond that. They focus on intention over introspection. Number 2, their social interaction. They have clear intention on how to treat and interact with others. Now, this sounds easy enough, but when it's broken down to its constituent parts, there is far more than meets the eye. For example, when you were dealing with your last conflict, did you think about the values and how you wanted to come across to the other person when you talk to them? All high performers anticipate positive social interactions and they strive consciously and consistently to create them. Number 3, skills. High performers are very clear about the skills they need to develop now to win in the future. So what 3 skills are you currently working to develop so you'll be more successful next year? If you leave your growth to randomness, you'll always live in the land of mediocrity. Number 4, service. When someone becomes disconnected from the future and their contribution to it, they underperform. What will provide most value to the people you serve? A high performer's obsessive attention to value is a search for relevance, differentiation, and excellence. Relevance means eliminating that which no longer matters. Differentiation is about exploring what makes them unique in their industry. Excellence comes from an internal standard that asks, how can I deliver beyond what's expected? The author offers a clarity chart on page 89 that brings the 3 practices together on a sheet that gives you, well, total clarity. Habit number 2 is to generate energy. Your mind and body does not let you down, your choices do. Energy isn't just about the obvious physical energy. It means mental, emotional, and physical vibrancy. Low energy correlates with low overall performance. The lower the ratings in your energy, the lower your overall happiness, the lower your enthusiasm for taking on challenges, the lower your perception of your own success versus your peers' success, the lower your confidence in the face of adversity, the lower the influence you'll have with others, the lower the likelihood you'll eat well or exercise. CEOs and senior executives have the highest level of energy, significantly higher than in other roles despite their age. These leaders have energy equivalent to that of professional athletes. Energy is significantly related to productivity. If you ever wanted to get more done, you don't need to buy some new app or organize your papers better. It's less about doing email and more about doing better energy. Stress is the ultimate energy and well-being killer. It reduces serotonin and dopamine and fires up your amygdala while simultaneously decreasing your hippocampus function, making you a frazzled person with decreased memory. Once again, Brendon Burchard introduces 3 cracking practices to develop the second habit of generating energy. Habit number 3, raise necessity. Brendon introduces the 4 forces of necessity, which are identity, obsession, duty, and urgency. Each is a driving force for motivation. High performers care deeply whether they perform well at any task or activity they see as important to their identity. It doesn't matter if they enjoy the task or not. It's their identity that drives them to do well. High performers care even more than everyone else about excellence and thus put more effort into their activities than others do. They ask questions like, did I perform with excellence today? Did I live up to my values and expectations for giving my best and doing a good job? The goal for underperformers must be to set new standards, self-monitor more frequently, and learn to become comfortable with taking a hard, unflinching look at their own performance. People who become world-class at anything focus longer and harder on their craft. There is a big difference between passion and obsession. When you are passionate about what you do, people understand. When you are obsessed, they think you are mad. Therein lies the difference. It's this almost reckless obsession for mastering something that makes us feel the imperative to perform at higher levels. Normal is not always healthy. High performers don't want to be normal. High performers often feel the necessity to perform well out of a sense of duty to someone or something beyond themselves. Someone is counting on them, or they're trying to fulfill a promise or responsibility. They are driven by external forces of social duty, obligation, and purpose. Duty to the mission replaces short-term comforts. When you have the opportunity to serve, you don't complain about the effort involved. Combine this with accountability. When people know that you are responsible for helping them, then necessity becomes stronger. High performance only happens when there are real deadlines. Brendon explains what false and real deadlines are. A recent survey of 1,100 high performers revealed their underperforming counterparts get pulled into fake urgencies or deadlines 3.5 times more often than they do. High performers are more focused on doing what really matters when it matters. The reality is that when you choose to care for others and make a big difference in the world, the number of deadlines coming at you will increase. Habit number 4 is increase productivity. Now in this chapter, the author dispels a myth about work-life balance. In a nutshell, becoming more productive means setting goals, maintaining energy and focus. If you haven't got goals, there's no focus, which also means there's no energy. One study showed happy people aren't just more productive, they receive higher evaluations for the quality of their work, dependability, and creativity. Distraction is a destroyer of productivity. It lowers productivity by 20%. Multitasking in itself is a distractor. Even with the most effective companies, one significant interruption in the workday can throw someone off important and scheduled tasks by 2 to 3 hours. In the book, Brendon introduces the concept of prolific quality output, or PQO. High performers have mastered the art of prolific quality output. They produce more high quality output than their peers over the long term. When PQO is found, it seems that breakthroughs and wealth follow. Figuring out what you are supposed to produce and learning the priorities in the creation, quality and frequency of that output is one of the greatest breakthroughs you can have in your career. In one of the practices, Brendon demonstrates how he uses a 5-step method to achieve his biggest goals effectively, efficiently, and successfully. Habit number 5, develop your influence. You can't influence another person in any useful way by diminishing them or putting out the fire in their belly. The author's team developed tests to establish the effect of influence on the high performance indicator. One of them was influence strongly correlates with the feeling like you're making a difference. It's about feeling your efforts are making an impact. And another finding was creativity strongly correlates with influence. More influence equals a better life. Family members listen more, conflicts are resolved faster, more people buy into your ideas, you have an increase in sales, you lead better, you're more likely to get promotion or successfully be self-employed. Your self-confidence goes up as well as your performance. Influence is a two-way street. One of the things you've got to do is ask for help more often. Let go of the fear of being judged. When people help you, they're more likely to like and support you. Another consideration is when you give before you ask, you double your ability to influence. And a third consideration is be a champion of people. For example, only half of American employees feel valued by their employer. If you're the one who appreciates people the most, you're the person who's going to be most appreciated. Brendon goes on to share his ultimate influence model, where influence is a function of teaching people how to think and challenging them to grow and to contribute. The pièce de la résistance is when you are a role model in these practices yourself. Habit number 6 is demonstrate courage. Demonstrating courage is the cornerstone of the habit of high performance. High performers demonstrating high levels of courage love mastering challenges, perceive themselves as assertive, perceive themselves as confident, perceive themselves as more successful as high performers, perceive themselves as more successful than their peers, and are happy with their life overall. Courage is more like a skill. It can be learned. Courage is taking action and persisting despite that fear. Like cowardice or panic, courage is also contagious. There are many kinds of courage, and the most important thing is defining what courage means to you. It's also worth keeping in mind that courage doesn't necessarily lead to greatness. Some of the most diabolical characters in history had an abundance of courage. So, do no harm is an important concept to inculcate into your courage when you define yourself. There is a clear pattern that high performers have a bias toward action, even when they're filled with fear. Once again, Brendon shares 3 practices to develop this habit. One of them is to honor your struggle. Honor the struggle. Don't fight it. When we learn to see struggle as a necessary, important, and positive part of our journey, then we can find true peace and personal power. After he talks about the 6 habits, he discusses the 3 traps to be aware of. High performers can fall from grace. The patterns of those fallen heroes become obvious. There are 3 traps they fall into. Number 1, superiority. It's a kind of pride that does not serve that person nor anybody else. So what do we mean by superiority? You think you are better than another person or a group. You think you're so good you don't need feedback or guidance. Or you deserve people's admiration automatically. Or you feel people don't understand you and it's their fault, not yours. Number 2, dissatisfaction. Those who are never satisfied are never at peace. Dissatisfaction means disconnection. It's a path to misery and is known as maladaptive perfectionism. It's far easier to be dissatisfied. Number 3, neglect. It's easy to neglect important aspects of your life in your pursuit for success. It's possible to avoid this neglect. Obliviousness loses sight of the other important areas of your life. Having overreaching goals arises from an insatiable desire for more. Going for too much, too fast in too many domains means you're overreaching. So in the next section, we talk about the 3 decision-making lessons that resonated with me the most. So what are the 3 lessons I rate most for becoming a better decision maker? Number 1, clearly develop the 6 habits written in the book. Not developing them is not an option if you want to be a highly influential and impactful leader. Number 2, pay daily attention to the future version of you. Then think and behave like that high performer as if you're already there now. And number 3, be mindful of the 3 traps that may destroy your endeavors, which are of course superiority, dissatisfaction, and neglect. Now, when it comes to rating, I've broken down the rating of this book into 5 areas. Number 1, was the book easy to read? I've given a 4.5 out of a 5. Number 2, how original is the content? 5 out of 5. Number 3, how relevant is the content to influencers? Again, I give it a 5. How seductive is the book? Meaning, is the book written in such a way that I'm pulled towards it to read it in one sitting? And I give it a 5 out of 5. Number 5, how practical are the ideas for readers to put into practice? I give that a 4. So the total score out of 5 is a 4.7. So the next question is, what's the one thing I rate the most about the book? The biggest thing that I rate is the practicality of the book for me. I don't know about other readers, but certainly for me. I will certainly put all those 6 habits into practice. Who will it help the most? A book like this will help highly ambitious people who intend to be super achievers. So I'm talking about entrepreneurs, business executives, CEOs, students, scientists, engineers, medics. In fact, anybody who truly wants to reach the very top of their career within their industry, within their country, or maybe even globally. Hope this has been useful to you. If it has, then do me a favor, click like and share this video or share the podcast with at least one other person that you feel will get value from listening to this book review. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye for now.